Good morning, beautiful people. Today we're going to continue our talk from yesterday about the ugly, about more ugly. And we're going to continue it right where I had to stop. If you were with me yesterday, there was people that they control, but I think the people that have been under their control have an awful hard time understanding that um, they don't have to listen. They don't have to listen. Sorry about that back feed. Yeah, they don't understand that they don't have to listen to someone. These people that have quickly gone under Chad and Lori's kind of command, they can't have it all there. We've talked about that before. So these are people that are supple. They're not the average Joe who's like on guard. You know, when you leave your house, your parents used to tell you, or I hope they did, you know, look 360 degrees. When you're out in the public, always be scanning, looking for danger. These aren't these people. These people are told, oh, our God is going to keep you safe. And our God and, our missions are so pure that we're going to stay safe, because who would want to touch us? Like, seriously, who would want to touch us if we're so godlike and pure? No one's going to come after purity. We're benign human beings, so we're safe. So they're brought up different, or they have a different constitution. Some, as I've discussed before, did the people that grow up in this case with Lori and Chad and get sucked in by it, were they not given the right toolbox, so to speak, as youngsters or as young adults? Were they always told to be trusting of something else other than themselves? I mean, I hate to use this, but trust your higher mighty, trust the angel, trust the prophet, trust your priest at your church, trust your clergymen. When you're brought up like that, I don't see that you can have any way to discriminate on what's good or bad. If you're brought up that you guys are really having an okay time, I just don't see how you can go from having an okay time and always being safe to a point where you'd be protecting yourself. And I think Melanie Gibb is a prime example of that, because look at what happened with Melanie Gibb. We see that she doesn't have the normal senses. And that's what I've talked about in my past videos, is where are those six senses? Where are the seventh and eighth senses? We got all kinds of senses, and these people are somewhat exempt, and they don't take that sense, that sixth sense, and follow it. And we've talked about this over and over. It's like someone has deleted that from their master chip. Is no way could you have any ability to have critical thinking skills. Because with critical thinking skills, that might mean you can get yourself out of a bad situation. So somewhere in their upbringing, or in their, even if it wasn't when they were children, in their young adulthood, they got stripped of knowing that those critical thinking skills, those reasoning skills, were the tool that was going to keep them away from trouble. So with that said, guys, I really don't understand how these people have gotten into this situation where they're believing Chad Daybell and Lori Daybell. I just don't understand that unless they came from that type of either bringing up or younger, when they became young adults, someone stripped them of their own personal constitutions, which is their own fortification. Like what fortifies you as a person? What fortifies you is I'm not going to have this come near me. I'm not going to let this near me. I'm not going to accept this. I'm not going to do this. You have all these parts of your constitution that says, stay away from me. You get the heebie-jeebies. If someone stands next to you and he's looking at you wrong, or she's looking at you in a way that kind of makes your stomach turn, you go, wait a minute. What's up with this person? How come I'm getting these really awful vibes? Why am I kind of almost feeling sick to my stomach on how they're looking at me? And then you get the ones that say things, and they can give you bombs. They can say things that trigger you. Maybe they know a little bit about your past, and they know some parts of your past that encompass trauma. So they might throw out trauma bombs, things to trigger you so that you start really feeling frail, that your psyche is becoming frail because they're unearthing your feet from the ground. So this is what we have been talking about. Where in the world did the Lori Daybell and Chad Daybell get the strength to get everybody under their cult, their money-making umbrella? As you have always heard me say, no, I don't think, and I know that a lot of you have been gentle with me and not wanted to express your disdain maybe for what I say. This ain't about the police. This has never been, I know everyone's been blaming the police, but I've worked with the police before. And as I've said to you before, their job is to possibly make an arrest at a scene. That's their job. Are we going to make an arrest, or are we not going to? That's what their job is to make an arrest or not make an arrest. Then they hand you off to another provider in their service provider world. And when you work in that network, you understand how people are handed off, I hand it off, I hand it off. So that day when Lori Daybell, at the time she was Lori Vallow, was in the police station with her daughter, Tylee, and they were talking about, they were making inference on, Charles is kind of bad today. And Lori wanted to paint Charles as a bad egg. And we saw that. She wasn't coming out and saying, oh, he's just a monster. Oh, no, she was saying, oh, I caught him cheating. Oh, he travels for business. He's always gone. So she gives the illusion that, yes, he could be cheating because he's never home. She doesn't ever say he's a family man at the time. But anyway, so where we were yesterday, before I got cut off from all of the machines working around the streets in Florida to clean up the streets before we get high winds, I was talking about exactly this. When Chad Daybell and Lori Daybell met, I told you there was an explosion, and that explosion, it was a bad explosion. Not that explosions are usually good, but sometimes explosions are controlled explosions. Like you give this much and you take this much. You give, you take, and it's a controlled explosion. Like you're really into each other, but you're doing it safely for each other. Each person is given a little bit, taken, giving, taken. And then that explosion is contained. Their explosion didn't happen like that. They met. He saw a hot looking chick. I mean, he's like 50 years old. She's 45-ish. You know, he's never been the it man. Like, no women have been chasing him unless they're, again, without a constitution. So they meet and that explosion happens. And they end up going on this killing spree, because this is all, we were talking about this yesterday. It was a bona fide killing spree. One, they killed Charles. They got a little, you know, their feet, they were a little bit dancing over that. You saw Lori dancing in the street. She was feeling puffed up. She was feeling high. She was feeling grand that she had just been part of this master plan to kill Charles. So they killed Charles. And then they know that Tylee, and we were talking about this yesterday, that Tylee was a bank of information, as well as never leave out Zach Cox. Never leave out Zach Cox. Why? Because he was a young adult living in that house. We talked about this yesterday. So we got a teenager and we got a young adult living around Lori. Both of them were picking up the garbage. Both of them had their eyes and ears on Lori. They knew she was up to no good. And as we've said before in these videos that we have made together, is Tylee got murdered because she just knew too much. That's why she went before JJ. And then JJ went because he meant nothing to Lori to begin with, but mostly because Tylee wasn't there to take care of him anymore. And that would not be Lori's job. Her job was just to rake in the money from JJ and Tylee. And as we all know, that's why she had everything of theirs that were financial, all the documents that she needed that were financial. So then they go on to Brandon. They've killed the kids heinously. Then they go on to Brandon Boudreaux. He survives. God bless. When Alex shot at him, he missed by an inch or two from what the news accounts say. Then they go on to Tammy Daybell. They miss on the 2nd, on the 9th, they try again. But now Alex isn't in a car. He's standing on the street. He's got a mask on. And he's shooting at Tammy Daybell. He misses again. He probably was too far away. Okay? He runs off in the backyard. Now, we've talked about this. Who would run off in the backyard? They'd run to a car that was hidden somewhere. They wouldn't run towards Chad Daybell's backyard. And then on, as we all know, on October 19th, Tammy ends up dead. So they did their killing spree. Charles, Tylee, JJ, and Tammy. And then, of course, Brandon in between, but they didn't get him. He's the only survivor out of 5 in that whole serial killing spree that they were on. Now, I am going to suggest this to you, that if that $430,000 that they got from Tammy's life insurance policy ran out, they would have killed again real quickly. If that money had run out, they would have been on the killing again. They would have had to, because how does any of them make their income? So we're going right to the pertinent part of this. This is all about the money. I am telling you, take that hogwash. I've been saying it for weeks now about cults and all the backstories that we got on portals and beyond the veil and zombies, and this is just an elaborate excuse to murder. An elaborate excuse to murder within their parties. They use that within their parties. They didn't go outside the cult party or gang. They didn't go out and use that excuse because they knew that was absurd. They only used it within each other to beef each other up, to buff each other up about the next murder. And that's why I've always said, when Summer Shiflett said that she sent her brother over in protection of Charles, I knew it right then and there. When her evil base mouth opened on 48 hours and said, I sent my brother Alex over to protect my darling sister. We all know she's been a darling, right? That's what they inferred. They always inferred that Lori's just been the biggest love bug. Well, how does a lovebird change to a jailbird that quick, Summer? That's my question to Summer. Summer, if your sister has been a love bird, lovey-dovey to the world, loves children, loves men, loves plants, loves animals, all the stuff that makes a good person. How did your lovebird change into a jailbird overnight? So all that baloney is untrue. What is true is this. The day that Charles Vallow got slaughtered, got shot down, got ambushed, Alex Cox walked out of that house after being, let's pretend, just for the basis of the story, let's pretend he got hit by a bat. And it was by Charles Vallow, an ex-minor league player, a very built man, very strong man. Just hit him with a bat, just for the purposes of this. He walks out of the house when the police call him out. You know, the whole deal, hands on your head, whatever they say to people when they're walking out. Did you recognize how nimbly he was walking? Did you recognize that his shoulders weren't slouched? Did you see that his neck wasn't bent over? Have you ever seen a head trauma victim? Have you ever seen someone, even if it was just getting hit by a door, like someone swung a door and you happen to be looking the other way and they hit you in the back of the head, or other ways that you can be hit in the head? You know, I know when I was in Phoenix once, I was so lucky I wasn't in a convertible. I was driving by with I think it was the Giants. I don't know, some team was playing baseball or something. And I was driving by where they practice, and right smack in the middle of my rental vehicle came a baseball. If that baseball had hit me in a convertible, I would have been dead. But I'm not saying that the baseball would have, or the bat would have had that type of force that a baseball would be going 100 miles an hour or whatever speeds baseballs go when, you know, strong hitters hit them. But when I am saying, when Charles hit Alex, you know, allegedly over the head, when Alex came out of that house, how was his posture, guys? How was Alex's posture? This is what we've talked about. Why was he wearing sunglasses that were resting on top of his head? Do you know what? You've all had headaches from a you banged your head. You've gotten out of a car that's too short, and you clipped your head on the top of the outline of the passenger door or the driver's door. You whacked your head, and you swear, you go, that car, because you're used to driving a bigger truck, but now you're in a small car, so you end up whacking your head. It only takes you one time really to remember that whack, typically. But why do you remember the whack? You don't remember it because of the words, I got hit in the head. You remember it because your neck is killing you. Your head's throbbing. Your ears can't even hear right. You know why? Because the trigeminal nerve, which is around your jawbone, gets banged down, gets clenched so hard, so fast, that all your nerves that lead to the ears pulsate and they're inflamed. And so this is just a normal head injury. This isn't being hit by a strong guy with a bat. I'm just talking getting out of a car and hitting your head on your own. What goes on? For the next couple of hours, your neck is, you're straining to keep your neck. What used to be, your neck was nice and fluid and you could hold it straight and it felt perfectly aligned with your body. All of a sudden, your neck is unaligned, and you're straining to pull your neck back up to where it was, because you just got craned on the top of your head. All of those posturings that you would expect to see after a trauma like that were not there. There was no posturings that said he just got hit by a bat. None. Zero. So I'm asking you, what happened? What happened when Alex wasn't prepared to put on the show? We know he was an actor because doing comedy is acting. To do comedy, you have to have that kind of acting skill in your makeup. But we know that he wasn't acting. So what? He came out of the house standing erect, walking comfortably, very nimbly, like his steps weren't painful. Usually when you take a step, when you've just had your head hurt, you're walking and you're really soft on your down step, and then your push off step. You're very soft because you've just been banged in the head, and you want to make sure that you don't rattle anything because it makes like a pain. There's like a nerve reverberation that makes a pain. He wasn't doing what people do. And like I've said weeks ago, the most telling thing, okay, so his posture was incorrect for just being hit on the head. Go back and look at those videos. If I could put the video on for you now, I would put it on, but you all know me that my technical skills are very limited how to do that stuff. I am going to take a little course pretty soon on how to do that. So I would be showing you how Alex walked out of that house. I will be showing you how he sat down. He didn't sit down gingerly. He did not sit down like he had pain. He sat down like he was stabilizing himself because he had to sit to the curb. But that wasn't sitting down gingerly, as if he didn't want to feel the pain from his head. And when that officer asked him to stand back up and move a few feet over because the fire truck just came, he stood up, lickety split. He just stood up. Someone that's just been hit on the head can't do that. They roll their back when they're standing up. From the bottom of their back to the top, they roll it because of the pain in their shoulders, in their neck, and in their head. It's all tight, and he did none of those things. So with that said, now you add the part, did he feel responsible? Like, was he talking to the police? This is what I've said all along, and I'm saying it again today. We talked about it yesterday. What's wrong with these people is because they do not express that they have done anything wrong when they've done something like murder. Like, they don't express that. They just go about their business and act like it's just another day when they just committed murder. A normal person, I would assume, I've never killed anyone, but a normal person that has just done self-defense, as he proclaims he did, might be saying something like this. I can't believe I've just done this. Oh my God, I killed a man. I didn't mean to kill him. I didn't want to kill him. I just reacted. No, he was coming at me with the bat, and I didn't know what to do. And since I know guns, it just was natural for me to start shooting because, I've always shot guns. So I started shooting. No, you didn't get any of that emotion out of him. You got, yep. Oh, I don't know. Yep. In between patting his head, you know what I mean? Taking the little pot of a 1 inch by 1 inch Kleenex or whatever he had in his hand, and every once in a while he'd pat it. And he wasn't as gingerly with that either. Even when he patted his head, most people, that should be bruised right there. Like your skull, your bone, your skin should be starting to inflame because of bruising. He shouldn't have been able to touch it like that. If someone went near him, typically you go, stay away, because the pain's so bad from being hit by a blow from a bat from an ex minor league player that you're going to not want even the wind would bother you. Even a slight wind on that area would bother the area because of the inflammation caused by a blow to your head. So I am not a doctor and I'm not professing to, but I've hit my head enough. I'm an old lady. I understand how heads feel. I've had injuries. I've been injured I've had to have the neck brace on and taken to the hospital because my head was injured. So I understand what goes on when we hit our heads, but this ain't hitting our heads. This is a blow to the head. This is a blow to the head. The police walked up to him, went behind, and he said, "Oh, that's not much. Oh, you won't be needing it." I mean, I'm not saying the exact words, but the cop inferred, you don't need any medical attention with that. That's nothing. That's absolutely nothing. So that's what I'm saying is what has happened that these people can do these things and they can walk out and act normal. Lori was laughing outside. She was, not flirting per se with the cop, but being her regular Lori self when there's men around where she might be able to manipulate. Yeah. What has made them not recognize their emotions? There's no emotions in them. There's none. When they kill, they come out of the house. They're not crying. They're not saying, oh my God, I've just ruined my life. What's my life going to be? None of those thoughts that normal people would have. If you kill someone, all these things could be rushing through your heads. He was saying nothing. He couldn't answer the cop. Every time the cop asked him a question, the cop actually had to answer for him. The cop answered for at least half of his questions. The cop was answering his own questions that he was asking Alex. Not because Alex had head trauma. It's because Alex didn't know what the heck to say. We all saw that. He paused. He would say, I don't know. He got caught. He even caught on to that after a while. Oh, I don't know. Oh, it was my sister. Your sister what? Well, and that's the thing about them. I discussed this in previous. They talk in final terms. They talk in like, Charles is dead. And my sister was in an argument with him. Okay, the officer's asking, what was the argument about? He can't answer what the argument is about. He can't say, oh, she took his cell phone, as she proclaimed later. So there's layers and layers of one can't say what the other one might not say. So they're second guessing each other all the time. Can I say this? Can I say this? Can I tell him about the phone? Because that's what Lori said. She's going to tell the police that she took Charles's phone and walked away. As you all know, there's so many sides to the story. We'll never figure it out. Even at the end of the day, Alex is dead. You know Lori isn't going to be telling the truth. Tylee's dead and JJ's dead. All the witnesses to Charles's murder are dead. Every one of them. The only one that's alive from that day that we know of, unless there was someone else there, is the monster, Lori Daybell. The only other person I could think of that could have been there was Summer. She says she was out of town that day, but is that true? Wasn't she at the pool party that night? Didn't someone say that she was at the pool party that night? Okay, I'm trying to find a chat. You know, I hope I've stirred some more and make you understand that the physical side of it wasn't even right. When Alex was hit by the bat, just the physical, we know he didn't get medical treatment because you know what? He didn't want it validated that there wasn't anything wrong. He didn't want the medical professions telling the cops this isn't a hit by a bat. That's why he didn't go to the doctors, right? Because he didn't want it validated. He did not want a medical official verifying that this was not an extreme attack on his head. How does a guy that gets hit by a bat walk out of a house so gingerly? How does he sit down on the ground so gingerly? How does he stand up when the cop asked him to stand up? I bet you bottom dollar he was watching exactly how Alex was standing. You know what I mean? They're trained to look for those things. The water is beautiful, so you are seeing the water. And I do see a little reflection. Yes, the sunglasses put on his head. Do you notice the cop never asked him? Do you notice in that conversation, the cop does not ask Alex? Now, Mr. Cox, my young son here, you've just told me that you got blasted by a bat, by a semi-pro, or whatever he was, a minor league baseball player. Now, what are you doing with those sunglasses on your head, Mr. Cox? You notice the police never asked him. That's the evidence. That's the evidence. Your head would be banging, not just for that day. You would be screaming for ice packs. You'd be screaming for aspirin. You'd be screaming to lean up against somewhere. Remember, he was using his back to sturdy himself on the curbing. You couldn't have sat like that. You would have needed to have something rest the back, because the head and the neck would be in such pain that you would need to give all your strength to keeping your head and neck adjusted. Because now it's taken, because you had a blow to your head, all your strength has to go to that area. So he would have not been able to sit on the curbing like he was, and not be as spry as he was getting up. You saw he just got up. He didn't like hold his head, hold his neck. He just got up. He pushed himself off from the curbing. Right, exactly, Lisa. It's always been about a family fight and not a, it's always been about an orchestrated ambush and not a family fight. All that stuff, and believe me, I've said it to you, don't look at the cult behaviors. That's not going to lead us anywhere. It's the money that's been their leader. Yes, they could use the cult behaviors as excuses amongst each other. That's the only place that they worked. But it's always been about the money. Yes. Alex had no problems, Maureen said, with stability issues after a blow to his head. No, none at all. None. None. There wasn't, so physically he wasn't responding the way a person that just murdered someone because of self-defense, because of a blow to the head. But number two, he wasn't responding emotionally like a person would. How can you kill a person and you're charged to kill him, meaning that is your charge? When you woke up that day, Alex Cox, your charge was to kill Charles Vallow, if indeed you did it. We don't know still if Lori did it, and then she called Alex to drive over real fast because they lived, 15, 20 minutes apart? So did Lori kill him and then call Alex and say, Alex, come over and cover for this? Who knows? We don't know that. We'll learn that in the future. But the thing is, emotionally, he wasn't emoting, and the case was never closed. If they had believed the Stooges, right, the case would have been closed. They never believed the Stooges. So the good thing we know is we got Zach Cox. He's our man. We got Zach's. We got Colby. We most likely have Adam. He's on the prosecutor's list. Adam Cox, Lori's brother. He's called as a witness for the prosecution. We got the 3 FBI guys, but usually in the preliminary hearings, they just kind of have, because hearsay is allowed. You know, in regular court, you can never have hearsay, right? But in the preliminary hearing, hearsay is allowed. That's why the cops can come in and they can say, we did this investigation and so-and-so said this to us and so-and-so exclaimed this. So hearsay is permitted. It's a very loose form compared to real court. So hearsay's allowed, and short versions, like they don't have to go in big depth of anything. They can just tell the judge, hey, so-and-so, they said they saw them carrying a body. That's it. They don't have to go into any real deep explanation. And the judge just has to see credence amongst all the evidence that they're hearing, that yes, this is probably a charge that these people can maintain, that the state can maintain that charge. In other words, if they don't have enough evidence, if the judge thinks it's weak, he can throw it all out and Lori and Chad walk. But we know that's not going to happen. We're not going to get pants tied up in a knot. That they're ugly, we know in our hearts they are ugly. Have a great day, everyone. So stay safe and watch out for the ugly.